Well, hey folks, it's your old pal King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. I found myself several days ago discovering that I've been volunteered by Lady Waspinator to run a second tabletop game over the course of the week. And so I decided to use this as an excuse to actually finally go through and dig out the older versions of D&D and played one of those. And since she laid this on me, I kind of gave her the choice of a couple different stacks of books, whether or not to go with the original Rules Cyclopedia version of D&D or go with second edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, and then underneath that some subsettings. She went with the Rules Cyclopedia, and long story short, going to be campaigning in the lands of Thyatis from the Dawn of Emperors box set, which you can get as a book on Drive-Thru RPG. In the course of my research, preparing for this, and after getting a couple of characters made so far for players, starting to kind of get the shape of what I want to do with it. I'm not a fan of dungeon crawls and the lethality of low-level characters in basic D&D, and sometimes I kind of feel like the dungeoneering aspect of low-level basic Dungeons and Dragons is all just an intelligence test to see if it occurs to any of the players to hire hirelings and have them go into the cave first. Otherwise, you got like 2 fucking hit points and you're trying to fight a horde of goblins that you've randomly rolled for, and like 3 guys with 6 hit points between them fighting 12 one-hit die goblins. It just... I feel like that's just a setup, and that's not necessarily the kind of game I'm looking to run. I prefer like roaming the surface, intrigue, and politics kind of stuff. And in many ways, the Thyatis setting lends itself well to that. A good chunk of the information for Thyatis that I took particular interest in after just the general geography questions of like where to start off in the setting. There's just so much information on like the royal family of Emperor Thinkle that I felt like the thing to do is so that I can actually use them in the game in a natural feeling way, was to have my wife's character be the grandniece of the emperor. Basically, it's already kind of set up like your classic Augustus era Roman family where you got like hostages from another country being raised as a foster child and all that kind of stuff. So the idea that the daughter of the emperor's nephew, who's the Duke of Westwark on the Isle of Dawn, that his daughter would come and be raised up in the palace environment as part of the extended family, not as a hostage kind of thing, but just go have your kid raised and educated in the royal main core imperial city of your empire. That there's nothing like plot breakingly outlandish about that, I feel. And since she ended up rolling up a cleric of the goddess Vanya, that all seems to fit. The other character that got rolled, we're gonna have a dwarf who's got like an incredibly high constitution, and the dude playing him chose food testing as one of his 4 skills. So we're going to go with the angle that he was like a royal food tester, and that's how he knows my wife's cleric. I'm going to kind of do a little kind of prelude almost kind of thing. We're setting up, they're told about the mission they're going to go on, going to play with the stuff about the Millennium Festival is coming up. And so the mission they're being told about is they're going to have to sail to the Duchy of Machetos and then march to the 2 little border castles between Thyatis and Keramikos, to basically kind of hand over a magical Olympian kind of torch kind of thing as like symbolic invitation to the Duke of Keramikos and his family to come attend the Millennium Festival and all that kind of stuff. On the way, they'll be ambushed by bandits that are secretly in the pay of the Duke of Machetos, because he's old and bitter and kind of wants to strike at both the Emperor and Duke Keramikos at the same time, and so trying to interfere with their little mission. It's a way to do that, and then they can like meet some elves and the foresters from the Valian County to the north of Machetos, and kind of go from there. But there's going to be a little prelude part before they even leave the city of Thyatis, where they have to go like pick something up for the wizard Demetrios, a letter. They'll get attacked by a couple of Alisaean dervishes. And then they're going to have to like go and get on the boat and go do the main mission. So by the time they get back, it'll turn out that the thing that they picked up for Demetrios was actually a letter he was intercepting from the daughter of the Sheik of Tel Bir. And then basically they'll lead into some like adventure where they got to go into Tel Bir and try to smuggle the princess out of the city, because she doesn't want to, you know, be doing the Telek Bir Alisaean, you know, womanly role in life kind of lifestyle. And her father is paranoid because he's already had one daughter run off to be a warrior, and so he doesn't want her to like follow the same path. And so that's why they need to like, you know, diplomatically smuggle her out, and, you know, try not to do it with killing lots of people. Thankfully, if there's one advantage to basic D&D for that kind of approach to gaming, is since you do get XP awards for treasure rewards as well as for fighting, it's still possible to, like, by using a, you know, just a reward system of like, oh, you know, you've done this mission, here's a chest of gold kind of stuff, instead of them having to like crawl down into dungeons and find a dragon's horde kind of stuff, at least early on while they're still trying to work up a few levels and get some like actual decent amount of hit points underneath them. You know, that gives you an avenue to still be able to have your characters go on adventures and do stuff and still earn XP, even if they're not hacking and slashing their way through, you know, everywhere they go. So we'll see how it goes. I gotta like actually sketch up and stat out things, and I got one other player who has to roll their character and see what they end up getting, because since this is basic D&D, some of the classes you do actually have to have high enough attributes if you actually want to get to be an elf or a halfling or any of that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens in this little experiment of running the original version of Dungeons and Dragons. So leave comments, hit like and subscribe, and as always, Waspination.